So this video is kind of personal for me. It's something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and it is my life as an entrepreneur who has ADHD, and tips I can give you if you are not struggling, but if you are in the same boat. So just a quick run over on my story. I was diagnosed in 2016, and I think I was like, I can't do math. I was 33, and I put diagnosis in quotations because it was with a psychiatrist who just said to me, like, yeah, you might have ADHD. I don't know. Here's some Adderall. And he gave me Adderall, but it was never really explored, like what was going on in my head or what, like what does ADHD mean? It was just more Adderall. Like the doses kept increasing, and I didn't know why it wasn't working. I wasn't, like, my executive functions weren't working the way that I wanted them to, none of this was, these puzzle pieces weren't fitting together. And so I got off Adderall and left that psychiatrist. Then when I was 38, I read this book called Delivered from Distraction, which is written by a doctor who has ADHD. And it's more geared towards kids, but it is really eye-opening. And it was actually a really painful read for me because it made me realize that I had this problem since I was a kid, and all of the trials and tribulations I had that I struggled with weren't because I was just the weird kid. It was because I had this, disease, this executive dysfunction, whatever you want to call it. I saw someone say that having ADHD is like being a Mac in a world full of PCs. And that's what it really felt like. I always just felt like I was just weird and was just off kilter or something. And I was, but it wasn't because, there was a reason behind it. And I remember when I was in 10th grade, I was in advanced academic English. There was remedial English, regular, and then advanced. And I failed it. I failed it badly. And I failed it not because I wasn't smart, but because I could not follow the guidelines. Like, I remember there was a research paper that we were supposed to do, had to have specific margins and font size. And I forgot. It wasn't there. I forgot that I had a reference guide, I forgot. And so I turned it in and failed. And then there was a test that we had to take on a book that I completely forgot to, it didn't even register in my brain that was supposed to read this. And so I bombed that test and ended up failing the class, which I cried and cried. It was awful because I didn't know why it was happening. And so, reading that book made me realize that all of these things have been happening to me. I had suffered needlessly so much through my childhood and early adulthood. I got my official diagnosis then and, did some tests with my psychologist. And we found out that, I do have this, I have ADHD. And so it all started to make sense. And once I knew what I had, I could start working around it or working with it and finding ways to make earning an income in a PC world doable as a Mac. And one of the reasons I have found that entrepreneurship is best for me is because I can't really work well in an office setting. I remember when I graduated college and thinking that the thought of going to the same cubicle every day, 5 days a week for the next, 10, 20, 40 years, it was terrifying. It was awful. That sounds like hell. And it wasn't something that I ever saw myself being able to do. And I have done, if you've been on this channel, I was a director of marketing. I have built marketing departments. I have been able to flourish in a creative field that was in an office space, but not for long. And it doesn't work for me. And so I have just found that entrepreneurship is the best situation for me, what needing to earn an income to survive and flourish, that I need something that's flexible. I need something that is, I can roll with, I can, take risks, but I can work in an ecosystem that is designed for me specifically. But, there's a double-edged sword to that, and it's all on me then, which is a big problem when you have executive dysfunctions and have trouble getting to work and doing things. And the positives far outweigh the negatives, but it is still a struggle every day to negotiate with myself to get off my couch and go to work. So here are the things that I have found to be the most beneficial as an entrepreneur with ADHD who's doing this as a full-time income. 1, always take your meds. ADHD is not your fault. It is your responsibility though. And I cannot stress enough how important it is for me to make sure I take my Adderall every day. And as you're probably aware by now, I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice. Talk to your doctor. But I'm going to tell you my prescription level. So I have 2 prescriptions for Adderall. One is 10 milligrams that I take every day. And then one is 15 milligrams that I refer to as my break glass in case of a deadline prescription. So I take the 10 milligrams daily, and then when I really need to focus and hunker down, I'll take the 15. And luckily, I haven't had to take that 15 very often. So that's been really good, because then I have, a cache in case of an Adderall shortage, like is happening right now. But I have found that this keeps my tolerance low, because it's more like a roller coaster. It's more dynamic. And I don't have to keep getting more and more higher doses. I can keep, I've been on this 10 milligrams and 15 boost for, I don't know, a year plus. I guess so, because I got diagnosed at 38 and I'm going to be 40. So, that has been the most successful for me. In addition to my antidepressant, Wellbutrin, which for some people has ADHD calming, for lack of a better phrase, attributes. But that Wellbutrin has never been enough for me with ADHD. So I have that in conjunction with my Adderall. And the same goes for you. You really need to manage the framework that society has built. And in another world, you might not need this. You might flourish more, but you have to work in the framework that you're given. And so being responsible for managing your ADHD is something that I think is the top priority for not only entrepreneurs, but everybody that has ADHD. It is your responsibility to make sure that you take your meds every day on time, and that you don't fumble at the 1-yard line. Next, decide if you want to be upfront with your clients about this. And if you have a product-based business and it's more of like my first business was skincare and candles. And so I didn't really have to be that upfront with my clients about my ADHD. But as a freelance writer, I am more upfront with clients who are millennials or Gen Z. I don't really have a lot of Gen Z, but I do have millennial clients, and I am upfront with them for expectations. I don't get into it a lot, but I do kind of frame it as it's part of my personality, and I might say things in meetings that are not unprofessional, but I am a person who thinks of you as my friend very quickly. And I know that that's actually part of my ADHD. So I will say that there are inappropriate things where I'm a big swearer. I like to swear a lot, and it's just part of my makeup. And so I kind of give clients who I've gauged as being able to handle that a heads up. And it's never, to my knowledge, it's never worked to my disadvantage. I think actually it's been funny because the people that I have told me like, I have ADHD too. So, we have that kind of camaraderie, but it just gives them an understanding of, I am not going to be here available via email 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. I, work when I can, and I will get my deadlines. I always get my deadlines, but I just need you to know that like, I am not going to be the person who is accessible at a whim. I don't have a regimented schedule. I can't, because I have ADHD. It doesn't work for me. My next tip for you is to lean into your natural workflow. And for me, I am not an early riser. I am not a morning person. I am an afternoon person. And so I start late. I will usually start my work around 11-ish, 11 a.m. And I'm done feeling bad about that because that's just not who I am. That's never who I've been. I have always been someone who stays up late, and I know that's not ADHD specific, but my point is you need to really understand how you best function and lean into that. I take Mondays off because I can't do that regimen. So Mondays are off books for me. I rarely do work on Mondays. I will take breaks during the day and take my dog for 2 walks. And that is great for me to just break up the space, and so that I am still able to keep, the dopamine going, I guess, or keep my day dynamic. And the same should go for you. Figure out what it is that makes you the most successful in terms of workloads and lean into that. And don't make excuses. Don't apologize for it. If you want to be successful, you have to create the framework that's going to make you successful. And trying to be someone else, like my husband is a freelance writer, and he starts work at like 6-ish. He'll work like 6 to 2. I can't do that. And I used to feel really guilty about it because I felt like I was lazy, but it's not I'm lazy. It's that I have a different way to work. And the same goes for you. Just figure out the ways that it's going to make you the most successful and be that entrepreneur. Next, seize the dopamine as it hits. And one thing I've noticed is that I will sometimes have work spurts, motivation, I guess I should say, motivation at not in opportune times, but in times that I wasn't planning on it. And I find that ignoring that is to my detriment. So instead, when I can, if I feel that inspiration to hit or that motivation to hit, then that's when I go and work, and I make sure that's when I go and work, because that's when I am most productive, when I can feel that natural urge to work. For so many years, I resisted that and felt like, no, I have to work this time and this time, and anything in between or after is no. Instead of trying to, again, fit into this framework that doesn't fit me, I worked on understanding my natural motivations and embraced the times that it worked best for me. And that has made me way more successful. Next is to get a bullet journal or traveler's notebooks or things like that. I didn't bring mine down, but hold on, let me go get it. Okay, here is my notebook. Here is my chaos, I should say. So I have actually 3 notebooks in here. I have notes, just random notes I want to do for business or things to keep in mind. My journal and my bullet journal. My my spread. And I have found that instead of being a person who loves, I'm still a person who loves notebooks, but someone who, rather than carrying stacks of notebooks, just having this traveler's journal folio, I guess, has made my life so much easier. And I recommend the same for you. Find something that can help you stay organized. I guess, like, find the way to organize your chaos as best as you can and use that to your advantage. Like I said, I love this because it just makes everything really accessible to me. I don't have to carry stacks and stacks of notebooks around. I don't have to think about, like, which notebook am I using for this? Which one am I using for my bullet journal? Like, where's my diary? Like, that kind of, I don't have to think about that. It's all right here. My chaos, for the most part, is somewhat organized. And same should go for you too. Next, get rid of that which doesn't serve you. And what I mean by that is menial tasks, tasks that build up because you don't want to do them and just make you feel worse and make you feel worse and make you feel worse. Instead of having them constantly taking up brain space, find ways to get rid of them. And what I do is find ways to automate them. In my members library, I have a free downloadable called Things You Can Automate Today. And it goes through just some basic ideas on what you can automate and get rid of in order to focus on the things you need to focus on to keep your business thriving. And it's totally free. Just go to meganbrame.com/members. You can sign up and download it instantly. And last, this feels a little corny, but be kind to yourself. I think that myself, I had a tendency to really beat myself up about what was going on in my head. Why can't I be this person that does things normally? Why can't I be like my husband? Why do I say these things that I say? Why do I act this way? What's wrong with me? And instead of, I really wish I had taken time to understand what was happening and give myself some grace, because it was needless. It was really needless to be so difficult to myself when I was struggling. And the same goes for you too. I really think that when you're feeling other, it can be really difficult to get the recognition that you are struggling. You are trying to fit your square peg into a round hole, and you're doing your best to make that happen, but it's not easy. So I think that that is something that so few of us take advantage of to our detriment. So I hope that even if just having the appreciation and having the understanding of your struggle will go a long way towards making you a better business owner. So there you go. There are my tips for you on how best to flourish as an entrepreneur while you have ADHD. I hope that was helpful. I will talk to you in the next video.